Hey guys, today we're going to do another video going over a few of my past gadgets. This one's going to be focused on head-mounted displays and video glasses. So I've actually reviewed and tried out a lot of different, people might say niche electronics, like electronics that most people would not know about or use or buy. And for me, I've always, I've been interested in a lot of different kind of electronics, but one of the ones I paid attention to since I was in university was the concept of wearing a device that outputs video. So this is like video glasses that we put glasses on, and it projects like a little video screen inside of there, or it could be head-mounted displays where you put on a bulky looking device, and yeah, with a kind of visor thing that makes you look like that guy from Star Trek, or VR headsets. So it could be any of these. So yeah, today I'm going to go over a history of my different devices that I've used before. Yeah, if you guys are interested, please stay tuned. For me, it's just kind of an interesting nostalgic thing, and also my current some of my current electronics are like this as well. So yeah, it's just a cool thing, right? Because not many people have these kind of electronic devices. It's really like kind of a niche thing for geeks like me. So anyways, yep, hope you guys enjoy. Stay tuned. I'm just going to go over my entire history of past devices and current devices as well. All right, so my very first pair of HMDs or video glasses is the MyView Crystal back in 2008. Yeah, you guys might be surprised. Like even back in the 2000s, there were devices like this, and it was actually very impressive for the time. This was made by an American company that's now defunct, been defunct for a while, called MyView. And they made several different models, and this one, yeah, the Crystal one, I think was the newest model at the time. I forget exactly what month I got this in, I think, but it was definitely 2008 because I think that's when it was released. And I remember seeing this and I was like, man, this is so cool, right? I got to try it out. And yeah, I was in university at the time. I didn't have much money, but this was actually one of the few electronic devices that I actually purchased at the time. And I forget how much it was. Was it like $300, $400 or something like that? Like not counting inflation, but it was somewhere around there, like 300, 400 bucks or something. So this was actually pretty good. It had DVD quality resolution, which was high res at the time, I guess. Not HD quality, but considered to be a high enough resolution at the time. Was DVD quality 480p. So this actually had a cable where you connect it to either composite or component input. So yeah, you can actually connect it to something like, actually back then, a lot of the devices like in your living room, like media players, gaming consoles and stuff, camcorders would actually have a composite output or a component output. This is in the days before HDMI was common, okay? And MyView Crystal, these pair of video glasses would connect to that and display it, and it was actually pretty good. I remember it being pretty good. And I remember playing it with my Xbox 360 at the time, which had a component out, and I used it with the MyView, and I was like sitting in my bed basically with the MyView, and I'm playing it on my Xbox, and I was like, this is the future, man. And this was in 2008. I was in university at the time, so that's pretty crazy. And this also had a pair of built-in earphones as well, so you didn't need to actually pretty high quality, like these days, the newer video glasses, they have it built into the arms of the glasses, but man, these ones actually had built-in like earphones that came out of the glasses like this, and it was actually okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay sounding. So overall, I mean, this is a pretty ahead of its time product. Yeah, DVD quality resolution is not high res today, but back then, having something like this, like sitting in my bed playing my Xbox 360 with these glasses, that to me was the future back when I was like 21 years old. Okay. So yeah, anyways, they're very, very cool. So these are my very first pair of HMDs or video glasses. And my next pair of HMDs was the Sony HMZ T1. This was actually really, really cool. And yeah, I think it still kind of holds up today. Believe it or not, the quality of the resolution displays is actually really good. So this was back in 2011 when I got this thing. And again, I've always loved quirky electronics. So yeah, I was just 23 years old or something like that. But the main thing is this is actually practical for me, because when I first moved to San Francisco, I lived in a very small one-room apartment that didn't have space for a TV. Like, it didn't have space for a big TV, let's just say. No space for a large TV. So this was actually practical for me because this was really meant in those kind of use cases. I mean, it's not even really meant for travel because it has this bulky like image processor thing, so it's not really meant for traveling. It really is meant for that kind of use case. Whereas living in a small apartment, I could not fit a big TV in my apartment. So what's the next best thing for me? Get one of these HMDs that displays like a virtual 100 or 120 inch display. And this actually worked pretty well, believe it or not. I mean, Sony, they actually, make a lot of good products. So when I used this, it was incredible. Like compared to the MyView Crystal, which I had before, this just blew away the MyView Crystal in terms of display quality. I don't know if it's like full HD or something like that. It might have been 720 something, but it had like OLED lenses and stuff. And this was back in 2011, right? This is back when most people have never seen an OLED display. So back in 2011, having like HD OLED quality display in a virtual like 100 or 120 inch screen like pop up when I put this thing on, that's an incredible experience. So yeah, you do need to have this bulky image processor thing, and you need to connect a cable to it, and then this has an HDMI connection because it's a more modern device. But yeah, it's kind of bulky, of course. It's a bulky device. You put it on, it has built-in speakers, so the speakers just kind of hang down, and it's pretty decent quality, I remember. But yeah, I remember it's not like the most comfortable device, but the display quality was pretty amazing, I remember. And this also had 3D capabilities, so it can play 3D Blu-rays. Like it had the ability to output 3D basically. So I played some 3D Blu-rays and stuff. I remember on my so I had a PS3 back then. I used the PS3 with this. So I had a Sony PS3, and then most of these games with PS Move, like motion controls. So I was like, basically I was living in the future again. Like back in 2011, I was like, had this headset on, and I was like using the PS Move, motion controls and stuff, and it was all displayed in this 120 inch OLED display. Like, amazing, right? That's what I was living like back in 2011. I was living in the future. Everyone else was living in the past. I was living in the future. So anyways, that's how I felt when I used this thing. So yeah, it was actually really good display quality. I think it even still holds up today. Like if you were to use this today, like if you use the MyView Crystal today, it's not going to hold up. But if you use this thing, it actually does still hold up today. Sony has a history of making some pretty impressive headsets. This is not even their first HMD headset. They had the Glasstron back in the 90s, and that was also way ahead of its time too. So anyways, I didn't try the Glasstron. That was back in the 90s, but this thing, when it came out, I mean, I knew I had to get it. It was pretty expensive. It was like close to $1,000, I remember. Pretty close to $1,000. It was expensive, but to me it was worth it. Just being able to live in the future with something like this, right? Just wearing out my head, and then using motion controls to play games and watching 3D Blu-rays on this thing is, to me, that was the future. The next headset that I got was actually the Sony HMD T3, which is the third generation of their headsets. And yeah, this one is, I got, I think, December 2013 or something like that, kind of as an upgrade to my T1. So the upgrade to this one is that, as you guys can see, it still needs to have that processor box. So you basically, put your HDMI source into this processor box. And this processor box kind of transmits a signal to this little pack that the HMD T3 headset is connected to. So it advertises itself as a wireless headset, but actually it's not like especially wireless. You still got to carry around like this processor pack thing, but it is definitely less bulky compared to the first one, because the first one you cannot really use portably at all. You have to have that processor connected. But this one you kind of could use wirelessly, although it's still kind of like, yeah, it's only portable in the sense that you still have to be in the same room, basically. So yeah, like the HMD T1, you basically had to have a cable connected to that processor box all the time. The T3 version is a little bit lighter. And also, I think the quality of the screen display are pretty much similar, but it was already pretty good to begin with, so I didn't complain too much about that. But you had to carry around this little battery, not battery pack, but this kind of like processor pack thing, and you still had to be kind of in the same vicinity as the HDMI like processor thing. So it wasn't really like portable in a sense, but it was definitely like more wireless compared to the T1, I guess. So yeah, Sony advertised the T3 as being wireless, but it's only wireless compared to the
nice if Sony
first
could finally
generation.
do away with this wire
But overall, it's definitely
give
still
us a
kind of a
headset
bulky
that's
device, and you
completely
still got to
wireless.
carry around this pack
Until
thing.
then,
But
we have to live with
still good
this
quality
small
headset. I mean,
which
even
is
today,
actually
just
my
like with the
receiver,
T3, the the Sony OLED lenses and everything, it
and
virtually
these are still
projects
the
like a
same
100-inch
720p
screen, and it's
OLED
very
screens
immersive as
before,
well,
I think.
because it covers your entire head, right?
And
So yeah, I did use this a bit back in the day. It can also display 3D. I remember when my dad and my brother both came over to San Francisco to visit. Yeah, they both tried it on, and my dad was amazed because he was watching Avatar. I had like Avatar hooked up to it, and he was watching it in 3D on the headset. So yeah, that was a good memory. So anyways, this is yeah, pretty cool device. Still even today, right? But this was back in 2013. So, and it was like semi-wireless, I guess. You still like had to sit kind of close to the processor box, but at least you didn't have to be connected directly to it anymore. So anyways, pretty cool headset. Yeah, it was a little bit lighter, and also it doesn't come with that built-in speakers anymore. So the first generation came with these built-in, well, not really speakers, but it's kind of headphones. It kind of came with built-in headphones. The third generation, you had to plug in your own headphones, like yeah, wired headphones. So it has like a aux jack or a headphone jack. Sorry, had a headphone jack where you can connect your own wired headphones. So that's the difference in this one. Yeah, so the difference is you connect your own headphones, and it's a little bit lighter, and then the processor box doesn't have to be directly connected to your headset anymore. You just carry around this pack instead. So anyways, I still think that this is a pretty cool headset, especially for the time. So yeah, the next headset that I had was the Google Glass V2 Explorer Edition. So this was I think this is a pretty ahead of its time device, and many people who go back with retrospective reviews also probably think this as well. It was a very cool device for the time, like really ahead of its time actually. Because you put it on, and then it has a built-in Google Assistant thing. You use the swipe gestures to kind of navigate through the menu. It essentially had a custom version of Android built inside of it, and this was like 2013, right? Which is really cool. So this is like 2013, and I could be watching videos inside of it. I could listen to music. I can just kind of talk to it, ask for directions on the map. So like, so yeah, I can add. Yeah, I can do Google searches. I can just ask Google Assistant anything, and this is all basically just from the glass. But basically, you had this little eyepiece, and you would see this basically on the eyepiece. So it was really cool, actually. Very cool device. You connected everything with Bluetooth. It's unfortunate that it didn't take off, because people were too afraid of people like privacy issues and stuff. Like, you can take pictures and video using it, but it can only be very short videos. I think you can take like maybe 30 seconds of video, and yeah, you can't really take many anyways, because because it has a short battery life. So you could take pictures of video, although essentially most people are not doing that, because it's not like you could take very good video or pictures with it anyways, and it's bad for your battery life. So I think the use case for this is actually just asking Google Assistant and using maps and reading information off of it. I think that's really the use case of this thing, asking it questions and directions and stuff like that. That's what I would use it for. So yeah, it's too bad, because too many people like that don't know anything about Google Glass, think that you're recording them or taking pictures of them, which, by the way, nowadays isn't really too much of an issue, because everyone's taking videos and recording, because there's so many vloggers and live streamers and people like that. So nowadays people don't really care. But back then, like, this is 2013, I guess people had issues with this, and not that many people were doing that anyways, but unfortunately it got kind of that reputation. And yeah, it was too sad, because this is a device that was really ahead of its time. Google kind of they didn't really kill it off. They kind of made it for enterprise users after, but they really killed off the consumer version of it. And it's unfortunate, because it was really ahead of its time. I mean, just you were wearing this eyepiece that you can like just ask it for anything, directions, and listen to music and everything. Like, it's so cool, right? I mean, nowadays you have the Meta Ray-Bans, which are almost like kind of doing something like that. But yeah, the Meta Ray-Bans I think are kind of a different device. So that's just more strictly for recording and doing stuff like that, which is funny, because that's the issue that people had with Google Glass back then, even though Google Glass wasn't really meant for that. Nowadays you have the Meta Ray-Bans and yeah, the Meta glasses, and yeah, and people are fine with that, even though that's the main purpose of those glasses, is to take pictures and video. So yeah, anyways, Google Glass would be my next HMD, and I'm categorizing it as an HMD because it's a wearable.
Main screen.
Yeah, this whole video is really about my history with really cool wearables. So yeah, anyways, I had to mention the Google Glass because it is really cool, and you can definitely watch video using it as well. So this is the Oculus Rift Development Kit 2. This was my first VR headset. And yeah, I didn't really use it too much. I think I just, you know, for me, as a tech person, I was just really interested in technology. So as you guys can see, like I've been into wearables and headsets for a very long time. So yeah, I actually got the Development Kit 2. This is my first VR headset. And this came out 2 years before the consumer version of the Oculus Rift came out. It had, I think, most of the functionality of the Oculus Rift. Of course, is not as fine-tuned as the Oculus Rift eventually was, but as a dev kit, yeah, it was basically pretty functional. The only issue is, back in 2014 when I got this, there really wasn't many VR games out at the time. Like, that's why it's a development kit, right? So there really wasn't many games out for Oculus, so there wasn't really like too many things I could do with it at the time. So I'm actually not a VR developer. I'm just like an early adopter type of consumer, right? So I bought this based on just because it was cool. It was cool, you know. VR technology was really emerging back then. So yeah, I bought it because it was cool, and it really wasn't too practical for me because there wasn't really that much content I can use with it. There was only a few different apps and games at the time. So yeah, but anyways, I did have a VR headset. Even back in 2014, this is the yeah, Oculus Rift Dev Kit 2, which was technically my next headset back then. And yeah, I think there was only a few different apps. Like this is the App Store at the time. Yeah, there was only like a handful of different apps and games at the time, so I couldn't play too many of these. I mean, they're there, right? You guys can see they existed at the time. It just wasn't very good. Like, there wasn't anything, yeah, close to the amount of VR content that you have today. So yeah, yeah. Anyways, it was just cool to have it at the time. It was, you know, it was a development kit, so it was kind of like a prototype thing. But that was technically my next headset at the time. My first experience with VR was with the Oculus Rift Dev Kit 2. So my next headset was the Vuzix eyewear. The Vuzix eyewear, as you guys can see, is a very bulky device, and it's made by actually one of the longest, I would say, running VR companies, or headset companies, I should say, which is Vuzix. So Vuzix has been making headsets since the days of MyView. You remember the first video glasses I talked about, the MyView Crystal? Yeah, at that time, Vuzix was also making video glasses as well. So they've been doing it for a very long time. So they're one of the longest running companies making headsets. I don't know if they still exist today, but back in 2016 when I got the Vuzix eyewear, they were still alive. Making stuff. I think they may be still there today, but maybe not making as many headsets as before. But yeah, at the time, I remember the Vuzix eyewear. It's extremely bulky. As you guys can see, it makes you look like that Star Trek character. Yeah, and it's very big and clunky. So that was the issue with it. But I have to say that with this headset, I think that the video quality was actually, like, it wasn't as sharp as the Avigant Glyph, and I also looked at the Avigant Glyph in the same video here because I also got it around the same time in 2016. So the Vuzix eyewear, I remember the good things about it was that the display, the virtual display inside of it was actually quite big. So it was kind of immersive in that sense. It was very immersive actually because the size of the headset, the size of the virtual display was pretty big, so it was quite immersive. Also, those big ass headphones that it came with, like those are actually pretty good. So yeah, those came with like really big headphones, and it came with like a really big virtual display. So those are the good things about it. The bad things was very, very bulky, and you had to carry around all these cables and stuff. It came with all these component cables that you had to plug in. And I remember the picture quality not being as good as the Avigant Glyph because it looked a little bit washed out. So yeah, that was it. The picture quality wasn't as great as the Avigant Glyph was, and it was bulky. And it came with like this big pack, like cable pack or yeah, this little pack thing where you had to connect all these cables. So it was a bulky device, but it did have pretty good sound. It was very immersive. So that was the good things about it. Now the Avigant Glyph is the next one that I talk about in the same video. So this one is interesting because it is kind of like a lightweight HMD, and this is about as lightweight as it got back then. So this is essentially a pair of little bulky headphones. You can consider that bulky headphones, but it also has a pair of like a lens in it, so you can use it to view video and stuff. So the concept of the Avigant Glyph is cool. It actually uses retinal projection technology, which is actually similar to what video glasses and AR glasses use now. But essentially, it looked like just a bulky pair of headphones, and so you can use it for playing music and stuff like that, right? It comes with the headphones and everything. But actually, the display technology inside of it was pretty good too. The retinal projection technology, I remember the images being very sharp, especially compared to the Vuzix eyewear. So I do remember the video quality being quite good on the Avigant Glyph. So yeah, once I put it on, I look like this. So not quite as bulky as the Vuzix eyewear for sure. Like the Vuzix eyewear was way more bulky. So yeah. Yeah, so this one, the picture quality is definitely better than the Vuzix eyewear, and it's not as bulky as the Vuzix eyewear. And I remember the sound quality being pretty similar because there's also pretty big headphones as well. So overall, I think I like the Avigant Glyph a little bit better because, well, the Vuzix eyewear has a bigger virtual display than the Avigant Glyph does, and it's more immersive. But the Avigant Glyph's, better picture quality and actually be more portable, I think that won the battle for me. So out of these two, I did this comparison. I remember I actually prefer the Avigant Glyph more because better picture quality and it's more portable. So, yeah, even though the Vuzix eyewear has more immersiveness. Next headset was the Oculus Rift, the consumer version Oculus Rift, I should say, because I already had the dev kit 2 before, and yeah, this was my second VR headset, and the first one I would say I actually really did use, because the dev kit 2, when I actually got it, there wasn't too many applications or games for it, but the Oculus Rift consumer version, which I also got with the Oculus Touch controllers, this one I actually used quite a bit. I used it in a lot of social apps like Big Screen. I remember I used it with, and then some other apps like Serious Sam I think had VR versions. AltSpace, I used it with that. Some VR chat as well. Yeah, I used it with a bunch of different applications at the time. Oh, Sansar, I used it with Sansar too. So yeah, the original Oculus Rift, you had to have the sensors in front of your computer in order to see it. But it was actually quite immersive. Even though the specs nowadays, it doesn't look too impressive, but at the time, it was actually considered pretty good. So, yeah, the original Oculus Rift, I think, is, for me, my really first VR experience, even though it's not my first VR headset, but it was my first VR experience at the time. And yeah, this was when I was playing the Oculus First Contact, I think, demo, and I was kind of blown away by it. Just the immersiveness of everything, and using the Oculus Touch controllers, which I thought were pretty good controllers. I think the Oculus controllers have always been pretty good, actually, compared to the HTC Vive, which at the time I was competing with. So yeah, the original Oculus Rift was pretty immersive, even though the resolution wasn't that high back then. Refresh rate wasn't very high on it, but none of this mattered because once you get into the world of VR, I think it was just good enough for what it was meant to do. So just for playing social apps and some of the VR games back in the day, it was good enough. So yeah, for me, I really enjoyed using the Oculus Rift back then. It was my first real VR experience, I would say, and well, it was really impressive. It was back in 2016. Okay, so the next headset I got after that was the Royal Moon. The Royal Moon is made by a Chinese company, and to be honest, this is a very, really impressive headset. I actually still own it to this day. I got this back in 2016. Slightly, I think around the same time actually, I got the Oculus Rift headset. But I got this after the Vuzix eyewear and the Avigant Glyph, so I was comparing it to those two in the video. So you guys can see I had a whole bunch of headsets at that time. Yeah, this is I think the thing about the Royal Moon, and I definitely prefer the Royal Moon to both the Avigant Glyph and the Vuzix eyewear. The reason is because, first of all, the Royal Moon has a built-in operating system called Moon OS. It's kind of like Android TV or Google TV, so it has its own apps and everything. So yeah, it has its own operating system. You can play Netflix, you can play YouTube and stuff on it. Yeah, so the great things about the Royal Moon is that it had its own operating system. So you don't need to necessarily even connect anything to it. You can just play it right from the headset itself. It was very immersive. So it actually came with these blocker shields actually built in. With the Vuzix eyewear, it had light blockers, but you had to actually kind of install it, and it was like kind of a pain in the ass to install it. I mean, after you install it, it is quite immersive, but you have to go through the trouble of installing it and everything, which is kind of annoying. And they fell off easily and everything, so yes, the Vuzix eyewear was immersive too, but you had to like go through that light blocker installation. With the Royal Moon, it just comes built in, and the sound quality from the headphones is really good. They're actually noise canceling as well, believe it or not. So these big headphones that come with the Royal Moon, they're noise canceling in addition to being just pretty solid headphones. So I would say the sound from the Royal Moon is actually better than both the Avian Glyph and the Vuzix eyewear. Also, the picture quality itself is, I would say, yeah, almost maybe as good as the Avian Glyph and definitely better than the Vuzix eyewear. So yeah, the Royal Moon ended up being, of course, my main choice of headset. It's so good that I still keep it to this day, actually, because it's that good. I mean, this was 8 years ago. This was 2016. When I was doing this Royal Moon review, and it's still good enough to actually use today, because I think it's only 1080p per eye, but still, like, most content's only 1080p still anyways, even today. So yeah, it's got noise cancellation, headphones, it's got a really good quality display, it's very immersive, got its own operating system, pretty portable, I would say, but the only issue is that it has to have this battery pack thing. Well, it's not, maybe it's not a battery pack, but it's this HDMI processor source thing, which is kind of like the Sony HMD T3, except it's not quite as bulky as that. But you still got to carry that around. So that's the only thing about it. Yeah. Yeah, anyways, yeah, as I have mentioned in this video, I was pretty impressed with it. Yeah, it's as immersive as the Vuzix eyewear, without having to custom install the light blocker shields, and the sound quality is better, and it's got way better quality than the Vuzix eyewear, and on par with the Avian Glyph. So yeah, the Royal Moon ended up being my main HMD headset for watching video for quite a while, actually. So this was really my reference point for a good quality HMD. So yeah, I really like the Royal Moon. That's such a good headset, and it's still something I have today because it's really that good. So my next HMD was actually the DJI goggles, which technically is used for controlling a drone. And DJI still sells a version of this today. They have DJI goggles 2 or whatever. But the first version of the DJI goggles I used was actually pretty impressive, actually. I used it as, not just for controlling my DJI Spark, which was my main drone at the time. I think my Phantom 4, actually. My Phantom 4 and my DJI Spark were my main drones at the time. So I used it to control those, to get like a first-person view footage, which is cool. But actually I used it to watch video as well. And it was a full 1080p display. It was pretty sharp, actually, surprisingly sharp. And considering this was DJI's first HMD, like, they're a drone maker, right? I didn't expect them to make a pretty good headset, but they actually made a pretty good headset with this. So I actually used it here connected to my Windows tablet here, and it was surprisingly good. The picture quality is surprisingly good. It's almost as good as the Royal Moon, I think, which I already talked about, praised the video quality there. Doesn't have the any kind of sound built in. You have to plug in your own headphones. That's fine, because that's not necessarily a drawback. I have, you can plug in some pretty good IEMs or over your headphones with it. Yeah, I would say that the DJI goggles is actually pretty impressive for what it is. Like, for a headset that's meant for just controlling drones, it's actually pretty good as a general use headset as well for watching videos and stuff in movies. So yeah. Yeah, so like like in this video I was pretty impressed, I think, as well. I remember being pretty impressed by this thing, because wow, yeah, I bought this headset just thinking I would control my drone when using it, but then I tried it out with watching video and movies, and it actually works pretty well for that too. It's the screen is reasonably sharp. So anyways, DJI goggles for my next HMD. So my next HMD after that was the Sonera HMD. This is actually surprisingly very, very good quality. But it wasn't very portable. As you can see, I had to bolt it to a desk in order to use it. So it's not a portable headset at all. It's just for like at-home use. So you had to bolt it to a desk, and then you kind of watch it like this. You put your head to it to watch it, I guess. Or you can kind of use the arm to kind of angle it in a way where you don't have to, like, move your head very much. You can do it like that. So it's almost like yeah, like your own home theater experience, but you had to like position it in a special way. So definitely not very portable, but I believe this was the best looking headset at the time. It was better looking than my Royal Moon, better looking than my DJI goggles. Pretty impressive, and you had to plug in your own headset, right? It doesn't have built-in speakers or anything. But yeah, you can use it. I think I used it for playing some video games and stuff. So I think for that purpose, it was pretty good. Just sitting at home, you have this massive display, and I think this was pretty high resolution at the time. I think it was like 1440 or something like that. Some crazy high resolution that was better than the Royal and the DJI goggles. But yeah, the main issue being that this was not portable. You had to bolt it to a desk. Yeah, once you bolt it to a desk, I mean, it's, yeah. So that's the main issue with this device. It's not portable. You had to bolt it to a desk. But the good thing about this device being that the picture quality was quite good. It was very high resolution for its time. So yeah, that's really it. I have to note that Sonera, the company who made this, tried to make a successor, the Sonera Edge, which I did back on Kickstarter and everything, but unfortunately that product never materialized, and I ended up losing my money from them. So yeah, I mean, I gave this company a lot of my money. I bought the Sonera HMD, and then I backed them on Sonera Edge, the so-called successor, but they never came out with a successor, so I ended up losing like $600 from them. So yeah, that's a bit of a sad thing that I have to note about this company, unfortunately. But yeah, you use an external headset to use external headphones to use with it to get the sound and everything. But overall, it is pretty immersive, and it's very good picture quality. Just not very portable, for sure, and not very comfortable to use. Okay, so my next HMD is the Oculus Rift S, the successor to the Oculus Rift, which I got back in 2020. So this headset I actually used quite a bit. So this was my third VR headset after the Oculus Rift Dev Kit 2 and Oculus Rift. Yeah, the Oculus Rift S is really good. I really like this headset. I used it a lot. Yeah, you still, like, I believe you still need to have... no, it comes with the Oculus Touch controllers, first of all, and you don't need to have the sensors. Okay, that's good. So yeah, the first Oculus Rift, you had to have the sensors placed on your desk, and they were a little bit finicky. Like, you need to place them at the right positions and at the right distance and stuff. So they're a little bit finicky to set up. With the Oculus Rift S, you don't have to set up any sensors. It's actually built into the headset. So that was good. That gave me a lot of freedom to move around and stuff. And yeah, it came with the Oculus Touch controllers. So you didn't have to buy the controllers separately. It came with them. The controllers, I think, were a little bit improved from the originals. But overall, I really like the Oculus Rift S. I use this a lot. I remember playing long nights of VR chat with this during the COVID lockdown, right? So this was in 2020, right, when pandemic lockdown happened. So I was heavy in VR at this time. I was just staying home, I'm a VR headset the whole time. So I used the Oculus Rift S a lot. Yeah, this was probably my most used VR headset. Yeah. Even to today, this has been my most used VR headset is the Oculus Rift S. Very comfortable. Yeah, you had this back strap adjustment, which is very comfortable to use. You can plug in external set of I think it had built-in speakers, but yeah, it had built-in speakers, but you can like optionally plug in your own set of wired earphones or headphones, which is cool. And overall, it's great. The resolution of this headset was better than the Oculus Rift, of course. The specs were increased. And it's a lot more convenient because you don't have to use the sensors anymore. So overall, it's a big upgrade over the original Oculus Rift, and I really like using this VR headset. So yeah, I use this for quite a bit until I got... actually, you guys will see a few more VR headsets after this, but I really enjoyed using the Oculus Rift headset. So my next headset was another VR headset. This was the Valve Index. Yeah, this was a pretty expensive headset. I think it was over $1,000 or something. It was like more than double the price of the Oculus Rift S. However, it's a very good quality headset. Like the image quality, the resolution, and the refresh rate and everything. The capabilities of this headset was definitely... This was the probably one of the best headsets that you can get for VR at the time. This was like late 2020. So definitely one of the best headsets you can use during the pandemic. Came with its own built-in headphones, so you didn't have to use external ones. I think they were pretty good. Again, I'm not sure if you can compare it to top of the line headphones or anything, but sure, I think the built-in headphones are pretty good. Yeah, the Valve Index was very comfortable to use. Of course, specs-wise, it was better than the Oculus Rift S. The controllers as well. The controllers is pretty unique. They're called the Knuckles controllers. So they actually detected your fingers, not just your thumbs and your hands like the Oculus Touch, but it actually detected each individual finger as well. So yeah, it's called the Knuckles controller. It was one of the most advanced controllers for VR at the time. Even today, actually, the Knuckles controller is still very good. So yeah, overall, very good pair of controllers. You can detect each individual finger movement. That was really cool. I think you need to buy the yeah, you need to buy like the different sensors though. Yeah, you need to buy the Steam VR base stations. So it ends up being pretty expensive. Like you gotta buy these base stations, which you have to set up. It's kind of like the original Oculus Rift sensors. You gotta set them up. Yeah, so you gotta set up these sensors, which are like the Steam VR base stations. And then on top of that, you have the controllers and the headset. So it's pretty expensive, and it takes a lot more to set up than the Oculus Rift S. But you do get a premium VR experience. You get a room scale VR, and that's something the Oculus Rift S can't really do well, is room scale VR. And you get higher resolution, higher refresh rate, and better controllers. So yeah, the Valve Index was probably the premier VR gaming experience at the time. I didn't keep this one for as long as I wanted to because I ended up getting the next headset, which I'll introduce to you after this, and it ends up being a better value than the Valve Index. Yeah, so the next headset I got was the HP Reverb G2, which came out after the Valve Index. I got this in early 2021, I think. So, still COVID, pandemic lockdown. So I was looking at different VR headsets, comparing them. Yeah, for the HP Reverb 2, I found that this headset had a pretty good resolution. Like this was considered, I think it was like 1440p or something like that per eye or something like that. It was pretty high resolution for the time. And actually this beat the Valve Index in some areas. I think it actually had higher resolution than the Valve Index did, even if it didn't have as sophisticated controllers. And this was a lot cheaper than the Valve Index. This was like $500 or something at the time, maybe 600, but it undercut the Valve Index by a couple $100s, and it had a higher resolution, and it also obviously has higher resolution than the Oculus Rift S. So yeah, the HP Reverb G2 also comes with the same built-in headphones that the Valve Index comes with. Also very comfortable to wear. So yeah, that's the thing about the Valve Index. I didn't end up keeping the Valve Index for a long time because I got the HP Reverb G2, which I thought was easier to set up because you didn't have to have any kind of base stations or anything. It's just inside-out tracking, the same thing as Oculus Rift S. So you don't have to set up any sensors or anything. So it's more convenient. Pretty good built-in audio. I think actually the built-in audio on the HP Viture G2, yeah, I think it was actually probably the best built-in VR headset audio I've ever heard. So the built-in audio is pretty good on the HP Viture G2, and it's extremely high resolution, so the video quality is very good on it, very immersive. The only issue I've had with the HP Viture G2 is the controllers. The controllers are not as good as the Oculus Touch controllers, and of course not as good as the Knuckles controllers from Valve. So they're using these Windows mixed reality controllers, which no, that's the Oculus Touch. So the Windows mixed reality controllers, like these ones, yeah. It's just okay. It's very like the compatibility and everything with certain games and how it works is definitely not as polished as the Oculus Touch or the Valve Index. So that's the only thing about the HP Viture G2, because it used these Windows mixed reality controllers, which honestly weren't that good, and they felt really cheap too. So yeah, they felt like third-party controllers because they feel really cheap. So I think that's the main issue with the HP Viture G2, is the controllers just felt like cheap, and the compatibility and stuff wasn't as good as the Oculus Touch and Valve Index Knuckles controllers. So yeah, that's the main issue with the HP Viture G2 is the controllers. The controllers just felt cheap, and compatibility wasn't very good. It wasn't as good as the Oculus Touch or the Valve Index controllers, of course. But the headset itself was really good. The headset itself was a good value. Extremely high resolution for the time, and like these days you have the MetaQuest 3, which is obviously a much better deal, but at the time, during the pandemic, the HP Viture G2 was one of the highest resolution headsets of the time, and yeah, it was just maybe $100 more than the Oculus Rift S, so it wasn't that much more than the Oculus Rift S, but it had a much higher resolution. Honestly, it had much better built-in speakers as well. Oculus Rift S doesn't even have built-in speakers, right? Oh no, it does. Yeah, it has like maybe tiny ones. Yeah, Oculus Rift S has these tiny built-in speakers, where the HP Viture 2 has the much better ones. Yep. So, anyways, it was better than the Oculus Rift S in many ways, except for the controller. So that was the only thing about the HP Viture 2. But yeah, I found it's like pretty good headset overall. Okay, so the next VR headset I got, and I know these are all VR headsets. I was like totally on a VR headset spree at the time because it was during the pandemic, right? During the lockdown, I was looking at a whole bunch of VR headsets. So the next one I got was the Oculus Quest 2. This one was pretty affordable, honestly. Like, this is one of the best value headsets, I would say, for the money. At least for the next couple of years, it was. Because I think it was only $300 or something like that. It was pretty high resolution. It was honestly, I think, the similar resolution to the HP Viture 2, except it undercut the Viture 2 by a couple $100s. Also, didn't need to have any kind of sensors or anything, so it was very easy to set up. And also came with the Oculus Touch controllers as well. So after I got the Oculus Quest 2, I didn't need the HP Viture 2 anymore, because Oculus Quest 2 comes with similar resolution, similar video quality. I know the speakers aren't quite as good as the HP Viture 2, but it was still pretty decent. The Oculus Quest 2, sorry. Oculus Quest 2 speakers that were built in were pretty decent. Not quite as good as the HP Viture 2, but still pretty decent and respectable. Especially for a pair of speakers that just comes built into that little headband thing. And yeah, it's the same inside-out tracking. Didn't have to set anything up. Oculus Touch controllers, which are better than the HP Viture 2s. So yeah, there's no reason to really keep the HP Viture 2 around anymore when I got the Oculus Quest 2. The only issue I had with the Oculus Quest 2 is that the strap at the back, the little Velcro strap, it wasn't very comfortable to wear. So the Velcro strap, it was just like, this thing just made it top heavy, where it just kind of like keeps sliding down on the top of my forehead and nose, because the back of the straps were not well designed. It doesn't give you a good enough grip on the back of your head. So that's my main gripe with the Oculus Quest 2. I like the price point a lot. It's very good value for what you get. It's good display, high resolution. I like the fact that you can use it wirelessly. You don't have to even use it wired. You can use it wirelessly. That's great. It has a built-in operating system because of that as well. So yeah, that's another thing, right? It has built-in operating system. You can use it wirelessly. So that's another huge plus for the Quest 2. Came with the Oculus Touch controllers, which are generally pretty good. Pretty decent speakers that are built in. And yeah, everything about this headset I really liked, except for the strap that you had to like. It just wasn't very comfortable. Like, it would just keep sliding down the front of my forehead because it was top heavy. So yeah, that's the one issue with the Oculus Quest 2. I don't know why they did it like that. Why didn't they just keep the Oculus Rift S headset, like head strap thing? The Oculus Rift S head strap, you just you kind of turn it towards the back of your head. Yeah, and it just works. Like, it's very comfortable, stays on your head. I don't know why the Quest 2 had to change it to that Velcro strap thing. It just feels really cheap and just falls down your front of your face really easily. And for the Meta Quest 3, the successor to this thing, they put back the Oculus Rift S headband or head strap, which is a good thing, right? So I think that Meta knew that the Quest 2 head strap was bad. That's why they switched back to the Oculus Rift style, where you twist in the little headband to adjust it. That's way more comfortable. Anyways, that's my only gripe with this thing. Otherwise, it's a great headset. I recommended it to many people who want a VR headset. Yeah, it's great. The only thing is that head strap fit. But otherwise, the specs and everything, controllers, display, sound, everything is pretty good on this one. Yeah, just the strap was the only thing. So the next headset I got was the Vuzix Lite. So the Vuzix Lite I got because, well, I thought it was a light headset. I wanted something more portable than the Royal Moon. And you guys can see I still have the Royal Moon there. I wanted something like, less bulky, which it was. It was less bulky than the Royal Moon. The video quality I felt like wasn't better than the Royal Moon. It might have been similar quality, I think. So the actual video quality itself, I think, might have been similar to the Royal Moon. And then you had to plug in your own headphones. So yeah. you had to plug in your own headphones, which in this case I plugged in my Focal Legias here. So plugging your own headphones, which is not a bad thing. The Royal Moon had good built-in headphones that was noise cancellation, but yeah, the Goovus Lite, you plug in your own. If you have high-end headphones like I did, then it's totally actually a good thing. It's a bonus that you can plug in your own headphones. You can get much better sound quality that way. And I like the fact that you can flip it up. So that's something that DJI goggles had as well, is that you can kind of flip it up to kind of see what's going around you and then just like put it back down when you're actually viewing stuff. So overall, I think... And this one doesn't have an operating system like the one. Yeah. My gripes about this one is that it wasn't really an improvement over my Royal Moon. I really wanted something that was an improvement, right? If you want to upgrade something, you want it to be an improvement. So, yeah, my Royal Moon is from 2016. So, at the time I recorded this video, even, this was just last year, actually. This was early 2023. So, at the time, the Royal Moon was like 7 years old, right? I wanted something like much better than it to upgrade to, and this wasn't it, because the video quality wasn't actually better than the Royal Moon. It doesn't come with its own operating system like the Royal Moon, and I mean, being able to plug in your own headset, sure, that's good, but otherwise, it wasn't really an upgrade. It's just less bulky, but really, not much else is an upgrade. So yeah, I think that's why I ended up not really keeping the Goovus Lite, because the Goovus Lite wasn't really an upgrade over my Royal Moon, and I was a little bit disappointed about it, because I thought it would be, being a newer headset and all, but it wasn't. My Royal Moon still ended up being, well, the video quality still, still holds up even today, so it goes to show you how good the Royal Moon was. So anyways, didn't keep the Goovus Lite for that long. Ended up not being the upgrade that I wanted. Yeah, so the Viture XR glasses, I got these I think last summer, so summer 2023, and these were surprisingly very good. Like, I guess I didn't know what I was expecting, because these were my very first pair of video glasses. I'm not counting the MyView Crystal, because that was all the way back in 2008, 2009, although technically those are my first video glasses, but these are the first pair of the modern like video glasses that I got, right? And even though it was like advertised as sort of like for AR and stuff like that, I basically only used it to output video, and for that it was pretty good. It had like this retina display technology that the Avigant Glyph kind of pioneered, but in a much more compact form factor, right? It looks like sunglasses. I think the Viture XR glasses, yeah, so in general the display quality was very good. Like, it had very good colors and contrast and everything. I think just the speakers on this one was a little bit too tinny for me, and also the actual like display size, like the virtual display size, was not that large as I wanted. So I think those are the issues with this one. But I really did like the accessories with this one as well. They also include a mobile dock accessory. You can connect it with your Nintendo Switch. Also, if you have another friend who has the XR glasses, you can also watch the same thing together. And it's a mobile battery pack. So yeah, the accessories were pretty cool. And then there was the XR I think beam accessory as well. So yeah, there was some cool accessories for it. And yeah, overall, I was impressed with the display quality of these glasses, because these were my first pair of like modern video glasses or AR glasses or whatever. I was impressed with the amount of how sharp the display was, the colors and contrast, and the accessories with it. But yeah, I wish the speakers was better, and I wish the display size was better. Also, this has built-in diopters, which is nice too. And not that I need them, but it's nice to have. Okay, so in the same video, the same time, I think around the same time I got the Viture XR glasses, I got the Rokid Max as well, and I was comparing the two. So yeah, so it's interesting. Both of them, I think there's plus and minuses. I ended up keeping the Rokid Max, but the Rokid Max doesn't have as quite good color reproduction or contrast as the Viture XRs, because I remember when I tried the Rokid Maxes, the issue was that it's a little bit too dark. Like, they're both using Sony OLED micro lenses, but the Rokid was a little bit too dark for me. Like, the picture quality, the blacks were extremely black, which means that if you watch some black and white movies like I do from like older movies, you barely can see anything. So it's almost too dark for me. So I kind of wish I had the Viture XR glasses, like color reproduction and better contrast on those glasses. However, the Rokid Max does have better speakers, it has louder speakers, and the virtual display size was larger. So that's what, and also they have the blocker shades, which makes the entire Yeah, which basically gives you entire immersion. I forgot to mention that the Viture XR glasses have this electrochromic dimming, which is a cool technology that the Rokid Max did not have. But I barely really use that one. I mean, the electrochromic dimming is cool. Like you can see the screen float in front of you. That's something that the Viture XR had. The Rokid did not, but I didn't really use that feature all that much anyways. I rather prefer having the blocker shades on the Rokid Max, which the Vitures did not have. So yeah, having the blocker shades was huge for me because that really added to the immersion. You add that to the larger display size of that screen and the better speakers, and that's why I ended up keeping the Rokid Max out of the two. So yeah, the Rokid Max, the only issue was it was a little bit too black. Like the contrast wasn't quite as well calibrated as the Vitures. And the color reproduction wasn't quite as good as the Vitures, but the bigger virtual display size, better speakers, and the blocker shades, that's why I ended up keeping the Rokids. Also, the Rokid had Rokid Station, which is a kind of like a Google TV type of accessory or Android TV type of accessory, but it wasn't quite as interesting as the Viture's accessories, which was like a mobile dock, kind of like a mobile dock and a Switch accessory where you can use it to play the Switch, and you can have other people plug in and play the same things or have the same output of the video. I think the Vitures have a cooler accessory lineup compared to the Rokids, but anyways, that's another thing. I guess the Vitures do have better accessories, but I still ended up keeping the Rokids because I really did like that bigger display size, better speakers, and the blocker shades. Those were really, really important for me. So anyways, the Rokid Max, pretty good competitor to the Vitures, but yeah, I ended up so I believe the resolution is the highest on the Vuzix G3 Max. It's higher than the Rokids and the Vitures, and I think for pure display quality, the Vuzix G3 Max wins. However, it's also extremely expensive. It was like $1,000, whereas the Viture and the Rokids were like half that price. That was, yeah, like Rokids and Vitures like $400 maybe, $500 if you get some combo with it. But yeah, the Vuzix G3 Max is not only is it bulkier and bigger, but yeah, it's also way more expensive, and you also need to carry that that little pack thing if you want to connect an HDMI input and stuff to it. So you need to actually carry around a pack to use it with a lot of things. So it's definitely a more bulky device and more expensive. However, as just for like pure display quality, it has the best pure display quality out of all of them. Also, this is another kind of important thing for me as an audiophile. For Vuzix, you can actually plug in an external headphone, whereas you cannot do that with the Xreal or the Rokid or the Vitures. Like those are glasses, right? They have built-in speakers. You can connect Bluetooth headphones, but you can't connect wired headphones. And with the Vuzix, you actually have a headphone jack where you can connect wired headphones to it. In fact, you kind of have to, because I don't think it really has built-in speakers. So yeah, this one was in terms of absolute just pure display quality, this one wins, and the ability to connect external wired headphones, where that way I can connect my expensive headphones to it. That's also a win for the Vuzix as well. But you know, the disadvantage is being that it's really expensive and it's bulky, so you can't really use it in the same way that you can with the video glasses. So yeah, but overall, I think Vuzix made a nice product. Just it's definitely a more niche product than the Xreal or the. Right, so the Meta Quest 3. This is basically my current VR headset in the last VR headset that I got. This is an incredible VR headset, and yeah, it just improves upon the Oculus Quest 2 in every way. Yeah, it's way more comfortable, first of all, because the Oculus Quest 2 had this kind of like, the strap was just not long enough to like really cover my head, and it's kind of like, the strap was just low quality, right? It was just this like cheap Velcro thing, whereas the Meta Quest 3 has this back part which snaps on and keeps your like head a little bit more stable. So it's a lot more comfortable to wear than the Oculus Quest 2. Yeah, so that was my main gripes with the Oculus Quest 2. The Oculus Quest 2 is actually very good value. It was really good value for the time, especially. But yeah, I didn't like the straps on it, because like the straps, like it's cheap Velcro thing you put on the back of your head, and then it kept, like, it was top heavy basically, so it just kept falling down my face. The Meta Quest 3 fixes that, right? Adds that extra like back part, that back padding in section, and then keeps your head kind of stable and level, so a lot more comfortable. And that's not to mention all the upgrades with the Meta Quest 3, right? Much better. The visual pixels, right, higher resolution, and it's got like more of the depth tracking sensors and everything, so you can do like full AR with it. It's a lot more powerful. The controllers, they removed the rings from the controller, so those are the Oculus 2 controllers on the Oculus Quest 2, right? They removed the rings, so it's like a lot more freeform when you can use your controller just kind of like a TV remote. Yeah, like everything that they improved for the Meta Quest 3. The Meta Quest 3 is just amazing, especially for the price at only $500, I think. The amount of power and specs that you get for that price is incredible. So I know $500 doesn't seem too cheap, but when you compare it to all the other VR headsets on the market, the Meta Quest 3 is by far the best value. It's going to give you the best bang for the buck, performance to price ratio. Yeah, it's comfortable to use. It's very powerful. A lot of capabilities, resolution, like everything is great on the Meta Quest 3. So pretty much, I don't see myself upgrading to another VR headset anytime soon, because the Meta Quest 3 is just amazing for what it does. Even the Oculus Quest 2 I felt was good enough. It's just that it wasn't very comfortable to use. But the Meta Quest 3 just fixes that and then improves everything, right? Ups the specs and quality for everything. So yeah. Overall, I have to recommend the Meta Quest 3 for everyone who wants to get into VR, or even just like if you want to watch a video, you can do that in VR. VR obviously can do a lot more than just watch video, but yeah, if anyone who is looking for a VR headset, or even just like a kind of a do-it-all headset that can do like VR plus other things, then the Meta Quest 3 is what I would recommend. So yeah, this is just a great headset. You can use it to play VR games. You can actually use it to watch 360-degree video or VR video. You can do it really to do anything. You can use it to like project your desktop. You can do work on it. Yeah, just for everything overall, this is a really good headset, the Meta Quest 3. So the Xreal Air 2s, these ones I got a little bit later than the Viture XRs and the Rokid Maxes. But I actually like this one the best out of the three. So Xreal is the Chinese company that kind of made the whole video glass or AR glass category kind of blow up, because they were the first to come out with these. This is the second generation of their glasses actually. And yeah, compared with Rokid, who is Chinese, and Viture, I think, who is American. The Viture XR, like I said, the issue was the virtual display was a little bit too small. The speakers weren't as good. The Rokid Max, the issue with that one was that the color reproduction wasn't as good. The contrast wasn't as good. And the Xreal Air 2s, this actually has probably the best out of the both worlds, because the Xreal Air 2s has the electrochromic dimming that the Vitures has. Actually, I think the Xreal Air 2s has 2 levels of electrochromic dimming, 3 levels. Sorry, if you count the full blacked out version. So yeah, Viture XR has 2 levels of electrochromic dimming, and Xreal Air 2 has 3 levels. So yeah, it has the same electrochromic dimming as the Viture XRs, except it's got even more levels. Not that I care too much about that, but it's cool that the Xreal Air 2 Pros have this functionality. The Pro version does, the non-Pro version does not. But yeah, that's a cool functionality. But on top of that, the Xreal Air 2 really is the best of both worlds. Like, it has the larger display of the Rokids, and it also has as good of a speaker as the Rokids. I think the speakers on the Xreal Air 2s might be even better than the Rokid Maxes, actually. Because I remember I like the speakers the best, actually, on the Xreals. And display quality is about... display quality for the color reproduction contrast is about the same as the Vitures. So really, it's the best of both worlds. It's got the Vitures display quality and color reproduction and contrast, and it also has the Rokid Max's display size and speaker quality. So because, yeah, it's really got the best of both worlds here, and that's why I prefer the Xreal Air 2 Pros. Yeah, it has the electrochromic dimming, it has the color reproduction, it has the better speakers, it has the bigger display, better contrast, I think, than the Vitures as well. So, sorry, no, better contrast than the Rokids. Yeah, so, yeah, overall, I think I like the Xreal Air 2 Pros the best. The only thing is that the Xreal Air 2s don't really have good accessories. Like, they only have this X-Beam or something accessory, which isn't the same, like, that doesn't really match up to the Viture's accessory pack, which includes that little battery pack, the mobile dock, where you can put the Switch on there, play with other people. Like, it's not the same level as that. So I think the only thing about the Xreal is the ecosystem isn't quite as good, I think, as the Rokids or the Vitures. But the glasses themselves, I think I like the best. So yeah, technology-wise, I like this one the best. Alright, so this is so far my last and most recent pair of video glasses. This is the Viture Pros, which just came out earlier this year. These are a pretty good improvement over the Viture XRs. So this is like the second iteration of the Viture glasses. Yeah, so the Viture Pros, how it improves upon the XRs basically fixes all the issues that I mentioned with the XRs. So I talked about the issues with the XR being that the virtual display was a little bit too small, and the speakers are not loud enough. And that's the thing that the Rokid Max had that the Vitures didn't have, right? Otherwise, the display quality is pretty good. It's just the the size of the display and oh yeah, the blocker shades. I didn't have the blocker shades either. And the speakers weren't quite as good. So this one, the Viture Pros, addresses almost all those things. It still doesn't have blocker shades, so that's still one problem. I think is it should come with blocker shades so that you get more immersion, but it still doesn't have blocker shades. But otherwise, it fixes the display size issue. So the display size is about the same as the Rokid Max or the Xreal Air 2s. So the inner display or the virtual display has been increased in size, and it has much better speakers. Actually, the speakers on the Viture Pro are the best out of all the HMDs. Sorry, not all the HMDs. Out of all the different video glasses I've tried. Yeah, I did make that clear because the HMDs have like the Royal Moon has an actual like full-size headphone there. But out of all the video glasses I've tried, the Viture Pros have the best speakers out of them. And yeah, that's it. I mean, it fixes those two main complaints, and it still has the great color reproduction and contrast of the first pair of Vitures, which I already liked. And it still has the accessories and the ecosystem of the first Viture glasses, which I like too. It has the mobile dock that lets you connect to a Switch, gives you more power, battery, and lets you other people experience the same thing that you're experiencing. So it has a really good ecosystem with the accessories and the mobile dock. And on top of that, right, fixes all the issues I had with the Vitures, except for the blocker shades. So this is so far my favorite out of all the video glasses so far. Is the Viture Pros. Yeah, good ecosystem, lots of good accessories. I have the neckband. Yeah, the neckband is the thing I was talking about. The neckband, which is actually, it's okay. I don't think it's necessarily better than the Rokid Station, but it's just an okay accessory. The one I like the most is the mobile dock, though. The mobile dock is a good accessory for this, which I like better than all the other video glass accessories. But yeah, they increased the display size. They made the speakers a lot better, and they kept the same great color reproduction and contrast of the first. On top of that, 120 Hz refresh rate, which equals that of the Rokid. Actually, I forgot to mention that, but the Rokids had 120 Hz refresh rate, which is another advantage over the Vitures. So I didn't talk about that, but yeah. The original Viture XR glasses only had 60 Hz refresh. Rokid Max at 120 Hz. So the Viture Pros bring it up to 120 Hz. It's very competitive with the Rokids. So yeah, overall the Viture Pros are so far my favorites. The best accessory ecosystem. Display size is about the same as the Rokids, which is probably the best. The 120 Hz refresh rate, same as the Rokids, which is the best. And the speakers, which are just the best out of all the video glasses. They're better than the Rokids, better than the Xreals. Yeah. So overall, I have to give the Viture Pros the win in terms of overall best video glasses. So these are my current ones that I'm using. I used it on my flight. I used it when traveling. Overall, great pair of video glasses. The only complaint is still doesn't come with blocker shades. Yeah, I wish it came with blocker shades, but it doesn't come with blocker shades. And it still has the diopters, so you can adjust that if you're nearsighted. So that's another advantage of the Vitures as well, that the first ones also had. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my history of head-mounted displays. So far, I've tried a lot in my lifetime, so let me know what you guys think. I've definitely tried a lot of different head-mounted displays in my lifetime, so yeah, let me know what you guys think of all the different displays and video glasses and head-mounted gadgets, and yeah, just overall this is all my head-mounted displays and video glasses and everything that I've experienced in my life as a electronics reviewer. Let me know what you guys think though in the comment section below. Which other video glasses would you like me to which other video glasses or head-mounted displays do you guys think that would be worth trying out? Let me know in the comment section below, and as always, thanks for watching.